Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Game Week 5 League 1 review. If you do want to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, can we try and hit 180 likes on today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. How has your side got on so far this campaign and how did you get on over the weekend as well? We'll start out firstly then with one of the early kickoffs yesterday between Luton Town and Cardiff City. I think I'm right in saying this is the first time that any of the three relegated sides from the Championship last campaign have faced off so far this season. It ended in a 1-0 victory to the away side. Chris Willock scoring the only goal of the game in this one on the 68th minute mark. A well taken goal, to be fair. Chops away from the Luton number 6, absolutely sends him, which was McGuinness. I know he's got quite a lot of criticism so far this season from the Luton fans, but then he drills it into Josh Keeley's near post. Both sides had a fair few chances in this game. I think Cardiff certainly created the better opportunities. I think it was Callum Robinson had a shot from the halfway line in the second half, I want to say that it was, and obviously that was well saved by Josh Keeley. But no, that must have been in the first half, surely, yeah, because Willock obviously scoring was in at the opposite end. But on the whole, a great win for Cardiff City. Looking at the stats from the game, it seemed like quite an entertaining one. Cardiff obviously dominated possession, but there was 39 shots between the two sides in this one. Luton having 7 shots on target in this game. Nathan Trott made a fair few decent saves in this one, but it looked like a much more entertaining game than a 1-0 scoreline would certainly suggest. Looking at the teams for this game then, I still think Cardiff could do with bringing in an experienced type centre-half, but they have got a good team here, and obviously Turnbull went off, I think with an injury. Did he go off in the first half? Yeah, and obviously the other Colwell brother did come on, so that's not ideal because I think he had a pretty decent opportunity in the first half. But looking at the league table then, Cardiff have gone at top of the table following yesterday's results. Their only goal they've conceded all season was that penalty on the opening day against Peterborough. They've had a great start. Thankfully my team Bradford City don't play Cardiff, I don't think, anytime soon. As for Luton, it started out quite well, but it has been inconsistent and performances haven't been amazing so far this campaign. I think they would have expected more than 9 points probably from their opening at 5 matches, especially when you consider the fixtures. It's not been the hardest run in the world, in all honesty. This is definitely on paper their hardest game of the season so far, but they were at home. They have failed to score a goal. There is concerning signs there for Luton. As for Cardiff though, I definitely underestimated them because they've looked excellent so far this year. And the other Saturday early kickoff then between Rotherham United and Wigan Athletic finished in a 2-2 draw. Quite entertaining from a goal scoring point of view. The scoring was actually opened by the visitors just before half time. I'm not 100% sure who takes a shot on, but it's gone down as a Sean Ragger own goal. When I watched it the first time round, I just thought the shot went straight through the Rotherham goalkeeper, but clearly it does take some kind of deflection, which must obviously wrong foot Cam Dawson in between the sticks for Rotherham. Into the second half, the Millers would equalise at 15 minutes into it. Sean McWilliams with a brilliant volley, to be fair, right into the bottom corner, and 20 minutes later, Rotherham maybe think they've won it. Some nice play between down the left-hand side between, I think, Keanu Tete and Reece James. A low left-footed cross from James. Sheriff then got in front of the Wigan defender to slowly poke past Sam Tickle, I can only assume was the Wigan goalkeeper for this one, but they could not stay switched on for the entire game as a corner quite late on was swung into the box, flicked on at the near post by Asamoah. Is he a former Fleetwood Town man? And Paul Mullin was completely unmarked at the back post. Question marks of offside, but Wigan fans certainly won't care about that. Mullin had a great opportunity as well to win it after that one. Rotherham had a decent chance as well through Sheriff, so they certainly this game certainly didn't lack the quality. Looking at the stats from the game, obviously fairly even in terms of possession. Wigan created way more XG, had obviously slightly more shots, same amount of shots on target. There was 8 big chances in this game, so proving that both teams have got goal scoring threats, or maybe both teams are just pretty frail defensively. Looking at the league table then, this is obviously a better point for Wigan than what it is for Rotherham, with Wigan obviously being the away side and scoring so late on. But Wigan, with them winning their home games and losing their away games so far, it was important that didn't go away to Rotherham and lose and continue that trend of put a stop to that one. It has been a pretty inconsistent start to the season, and that is why they find themselves smack bang in the middle of the table at the moment. Obviously Rotherham have got a game in hand on pretty much every other team in the division, but it's not been a great start to the season for them. Just one win in their opening 4. They've conceded 7, just scored the 4 goals as well. And when I look at the firepower in this Rotherham front line, I do think it's lacking, in honesty. They desperately need Sam Nombe back, but a decent point for Wigan. Rotherham, I'm sure, will be disappointed in the manner that they've picked that one up. Barnsley's excellent start to the season was halted with a 2-0 defeat away at flying AFC Wimbledon. I don't think many people at the start of the season would have thought that Wimbledon will win this game and win it pretty comfortably. David McGoldrick, yes, had a couple of decent opportunities for the away side, but other than that, Barnsley just didn't really show up on the day. The scoring was opened by Matty Stevens again just before the half an hour mark. He scored a lot of goals in League 2 last season. He's now made a step up into League 1 and I think he's already on 3, maybe 4 goals. He's had a great start to the campaign. Obviously, it's quite a scrappy goal. I think originally the ball is played through to Hippolyte, then the Barnsley keeper comes out, it's cleared. Eventually I think it's Nathan Asimwe tries to put in a cross on the right hand side, takes a slight deflection and Miles Hippolyte just kind of throws the back of his body towards it. I don't know if it comes off the back or just the back of his head, and eventually Stevens gets in between the two Barnsley centre halves and just pokes it past Murphy Cooper for 1-0, and then they would double their advantage that's not English, I was going to say about 3 different things there. They double their advantage on the 70th minute mark, 5 minutes after Antoine Hackford came onto the pitch. A great through ball from Alistair Smith and Jack Shepherd gets caught flat-footed. He's kind of got his body position the wrong way, and a great finish, to be fair, from Hackford. I thought he was a decent bit-part player for Port Vale last campaign. I wasn't so sure he'd make the step up well to League 1 with Wimbledon, but he took that goal very well, and Wimbledon have had a great start to the season on the whole, obviously. Nathan Bishop makes an outstanding save from Dave McGoldrick in the first half, and looking at the stats from the game, as you would expect, the opposition against Wimbledon have had more possession. They've had a similar amount of shots. They've had a similar amount of shots on target as well, but Barnsley having 16 shots and just a 3 on target is not the goal-scoring firepower that we've seen from them so far. Looking at their starting 11 from this game as well, it's not like they made loads of changes and went, well, Wimbledon are the team that came up from the playoffs last season, so they're going to be mugs, so we'll just make a load of changes. That's pretty much a full strength side for Barnsley, so they can't really have many complaints from that point of view. I still think they need to get in another centre half personally, and probably a different type of striker at the top end of the pitch. But Wimbledon, they're not going to be easy to beat, especially at Plough Lane. They have had an excellent start to the season. Maybe I've underestimated them a little bit, but looking at that team, for me, that is not a front line that screams going to score loads of goals, going to create loads of chances, but they're strong defensively. Even without Joe Lewis, somebody like a Ryan Johnson massively stepped up in a game like this, and Wimbledon have had an outstanding start to the campaign. They're up into 10th at this moment in time. They've won 3 of their opening 5. They've only conceded 3 goals in their opening 5 as well, and obviously they go away to Bradford City on Saturday. We have won every game at Valley Parade so far this campaign, but it's never easy against Wimbledon. It's never a pretty watch, and I'm not really looking forward to it, to be honest. As for Barnsley, just 1 win in their last 3. It's still been a positive start to the season. They've still scored a decent amount of goals, but as expected, they've also conceded a fair few as well. So they'll be hoping to win their next one, because just 1 win in the last 3 is not really the signs of a promotion winning team at this moment in time, but I think there's still more business to be done for the Tykes. Bolton Wanderers left it very late to find an equaliser in this one at home to Lincoln City. Still at home to Lincoln. Bolton, I'm sure if they've got aspirations of getting out of this division, they ideally do need to be picking up 3 points, but obviously Lincoln score inside the first 60 seconds. For me, there is a clear foul in the midfield. It should have been a free kick to Bolton, but I guess the referee had a couple of players in front of him. Still, one of the match officials should be seeing that, but a good cross into the box from Rico Hackett, and Freddie Draper with a very well taken header. He's obviously got a couple of goals so far this campaign. I think he scored the winner on Tuesday against Northampton as well, so he's had a decent week on the whole for him. And the second half was pretty much total domination by Bolton Wanderers. They hit the crossbar, they had a couple goal line clearances by Lincoln as well, and eventually it took until the 97th minute. I'm pretty sure it's Cozy Adubari running down the right hand side, takes on a couple of Lincoln players, flashes a ball across the face of goal. I'm not so sure if it's creeping in at the back post, but Tom Hamer just can't quite sort his feet out, and eventually it just trickles over the line into the back of the net for a late Bolton equaliser, which was the least they deserved out of this game. With Lincoln scoring so early, it meant they could pretty much just shut up shop and try and defend, and they did for 96 minutes, but unfortunately for them, the own goal right at the death did kill them. Bolton, clearly looking at stats, did deserve all 3 points, but I would have been interested to see how the game would have panned out if it was 0-0 for the entire match. You know, would Lincoln Lincoln have obviously had more of an impetus on trying to win the game, or even at that point would have still been happy for a point. Obviously, Lincoln fans, I think, would have been happy going into the game with a point, but it's always the manner of how you can away from the game with a point, and leading for so long, conceding with the last kick of the game with it being an own goal, I'm sure would have certainly been very disappointing for the Imps fans. Looking at the Bolton squad, they've got some very tricky wingers in Kazia Dubry, in Thierry Gale, in Sissoko as well, but I'm just not sure they've got that steel type of midfielder to play in that number 6 position. They've got a lot of very good technicians, very good passes. Obviously, you've got Erhan playing against his former team, you've got Simons, you've obviously got Sheehan, you've got Morley, you've got a fair few options in there, but they've not got a bruiser, a tough tackle, and I do think that is something that Bolton do miss at times as well, and I think they could also maybe do with another striker. Obviously, Lincoln pretty much set up to defend in this game, and they did the job pretty well. Looking at the league table then, it's still been a great start to the season for Lincoln. Their only defeat of the campaign was when obviously they went away to Wimbledon and got a red card quite early on in that one, but they've had a great start to the season. As for Bolton, kind of a similar tale. It's far too many draws. They've drawn the last 3 games on the bounce, all of them being 1-1 as well. They've only won 1 of their opening 5. They're not had the easiest run of fixtures, if I am being completely honest. Lincoln, Reading, Barnsley, Plymouth, and also Stockport. That's not the easiest start to the season, but I don't think it's been awful. Their performances probably have deserved more points, but they just need to be better in both boxes, really, which I guess has kind of been the tale of their season over the last couple of years. But great point for Lincoln. Yes, obviously the circumstances are frustrating, but Bolton, judging by the stats, clearly deserved all 3, to be honest. Stevenage FC's great start to the season finally came to an end at the hand of those pesky dog botherers. Alfie May scoring the only goal of the game in the second half, and it's a goal that you wouldn't really expect Stevenage to concede, to be honest. It's great play down the left-hand side from Huddersfield, and the ball is cut back eventually to Alfie May, who just has the freedom of the entire Stevenage penalty area. Normally Stevenage are very well organised. They don't allow space inside the penalty area, but May had so much time. His original strike is actually blocked off the line, I want to say by Lewis Freestone potentially, and it falls perfectly straight back to him, almost like it was, it had to go into the back of the net at that point. Left-footed strike into the bottom corner. I just want to check, did Freestone play this game? No, he didn't. It might have been Pierre Gianni then if he's cut his hair really short. I don't know. But it was blocked on the line by somebody with blonde hair, obviously. Both sides were then, having some half chances. Stevenage really piling the pressure on. Owen Goodman made a great save later on in the game as well. And looking at the stats, it wasn't total domination from Huddersfield, considering the contrast in the squads between these two teams. Yes, they had more possession, but Stevenage had a similar amount of shots, only slightly less shots on target as well, taking nothing away. You need to be winning your home games, especially with all due respect against teams like Stevenage. Come the end of the season, I don't think Stevenage will be in that top 6. They might be in the top 10, top 12, but I don't see them being in the top 6. But it's still been a great start to the season for Stevenage. Still up in 3rd at this moment in time. Obviously, Huddersfield are up into the top 2, finally going above Bradford, which has taken quite a long time considering the money that they've spent, but only one of us is undefeated so far. So I guess, which would you rather have? You'd probably rather be second in the table, wouldn't you? But still, great start to the season for both of these clubs. There's no real shame in Stevenage going away to Huddersfield and losing 1-0. They gave it their best shot. They just kind of, the goal that Huddersfield scored was a little bit scrappy, but they've got the job done, and that's what teams who win promotion do, don't they? They get the job done. They win their home games against these sort of teams, your Stevenages, your Lincolns, your Wimbledons, who are going to be very well drilled defensively, very resolute. You win them at home especially, and yeah, that's a great win for Huddersfield, to be honest. Mansfield Town continued their excellent recent run with a 4-1 victory at home to Leighton Orient. A brace from Regan Hendry inside the opening half an hour. Obviously the first goal scored from the halfway line. You could argue that it probably was a foul on Ollie O'Neill. I think in this day and age, any time that you make contact with a player and you don't get any of the ball, then it probably should be a foul. If it was the Bradford versus Peterborough referee and a Bradford player did that, he'd probably be going down to prison for GBH. Anyway, still, you can take nothing away from the finish from Regan Hendry. An absolutely outstanding strike, and obviously he gets his second just 14 minutes later. Some nice play from Dickov and Blake Tracy down the left-hand side. The latter then crosses to the back post. It does take a slight deflection, but Teo Adaramola switches off a little bit, and Regan Hendry is allowed to sneak in at the back post at 4-2-0. Orient do pull a goal back from a corner just 8 minutes after that. Ollie O'Neill swinging in one to the near post, and Josh Koroma practically has a free header and he finds the bottom corner. And at that point you're thinking Orient just get into half time, just a 1-goal deficit, try and regroup, but they come out in the second half, make a couple of changes, actually make 4 just before the hour mark, and just 2 minutes after that Will Evans does make it 3-1. Aaron Connolly loses the ball far too easily inside his own half. The ball is eventually cut across, I think, by Jordan Bowery to Will Evans, who I'm pretty sure it was just outside the box, drills it into the back of the net. An absolutely outstanding strike. And 3 minutes after that, Idris El Mazouni completely loses his head. He goes and gets himself sent off for a second bookable offence. He'd only been booked 11 minutes earlier, and I think he can have absolutely no complaints about the foul. Definitely a yellow card, and when you've already been booked, that does normally lead to a second yellow. And Luke Bolton did wrap up the scoring in the 95th minute. Some great pressure from Mansfield down the left-hand side, and eventually it took maybe 3 or 4 separate attempts. I think even Bolton himself had 2 or 3 strikes towards goal. They were blocked and saved, and eventually the ball finds the back of the net to wrap up the scoring in case it was ever in doubt at 3-1. Looking at the stats, obviously you would expect Orient to have more possession, but Mansfield created way more XG. To say one of their goals as well was from the halfway line. They had way more shots on target, more big chances. Just a very, very good performance from the Stags in this one, and obviously their recent run has projected them up to 9th in the table. On paper, they've not had the hardest fixtures in the world, if I'm being completely honest, but having lost to Burton and Doncaster in their opening 2 games, it was kind of important for them to get a couple of wins on the bounce, and they've obviously won their last 3 league games. They beat their rivals Chesterfield in the cup as well. I had Mansfield pushing that top half this campaign, and if they keep playing like this, they've scored 10 goals already so far this season. They are the joint top goal scorers in the entire division. They have had a very good start. As for Orient, obviously Richie Wellens comes out in his post-match interview and he's talking about how, 5 or 6 of his players have said they were too tired to play this game, they were too fatigued, and he wasn't very happy about that. They've conceded 9 goals in their opening 5 matches, obviously 4 of them coming in this game, but total domination really from Mansfield. And I like Richie Wellens. I think he's a good manager, but I think it's going to take time again, like what he did last season. They've got to build into the season, and once they get going around that February, March sort of time, that's where they're going to roll and start winning a load of matches once again, because they have had a big turnover of players, but I'm not concerned about them all too much. Great win though for Mansfield, very, very comfortable, and Nigel Clough deserves a lot of credit because he was getting a lot of flack in the opening couple of games, so now he deserves a lot of credit. Stags are flying. The end must be near as Northampton Town actually won a football match and actually scored 2 goals in one game. I am amazed. Obviously, Exeter at home is probably one of the easiest fixtures this season in the entire division. With all due respect to Exeter, if teams like Northampton, for example, again, with all due respect, want to be surviving this season, they have to be beating teams like Exeter, again, with all due respect, at home. And they did 2-0. Ethan Wheatley opened up the scoring inside the first at 60 seconds. A ball clipped into the channel. Just kind of a bit of one of them. There's nothing that's really on, so we'll just hit it into the channel from Guinness Walker. And Wheatley gets on the end of it. He's looking up in the box. There's not really many options. And from the tightest of angles, he thinks, you know what, I'm just going to whip this in the top corner. It's an absolutely outstanding finish from a man who I didn't think would score many goals at Northampton. I think he has struggled so far to get in the right areas, but that, I can take nothing away from it, is an absolutely outstanding strike into the top corner. And it seems after that, it was just total domination in that first half from Northampton Town, even throughout the entire match, really. Exeter offered very little, which does concern me quite a lot. 15 minutes after the opener, Max Dyche would make it to, I think a cross came in from the right-hand side from Tyrese Fawn. It takes a slight deflection, but eventually falls into the path of Max Dyche. And it's not the best finish in the world. It is quite a central finish, but he hits it low, he hits it hard, and he finds the back of the net on that occasion. Even in the second half, Northampton had some decent opportunities. Exeter's only real opportunity in the game came from about a 25-30 yard strike from distance, which I thought Lee Burge tipped over the bar, but Exeter created absolutely nothing. Even though they had 64% possession, created very little. Northampton, with a better side, scored a couple of goals, and that is a very important victory for them because they had a pretty poor start to the season. They were struggling for goals. It's something for them to finally build on now. It was a very, very important 3 points for them. They're up to 18th as well. I mean, they've only scored 3 goals all season, and 2 of them have come in this game. But very important then for them to finally get a win and put a stop to the rot of their recent poor form. I still do think that they will go down, in all honesty, and I think Exeter will be another team that does join them as well. You know, they were battered away at Doncaster on the opening day, did very well against Exeter, but then lost at home to Mansfield, went away to Wycombe, and, you know, won in a very Wycombe fashion at this moment in time, and obviously have lost away to Northampton now. I'm concerned about both of these teams, but for now, Northampton fans, just enjoy your win, because I don't think think you'll get many of them this season, but a great win for them nonetheless. My team Bradford City went away to bottom of the table Peterborough United, a team that hadn't scored from open play all season and were conceding goals from fun, and of course we drew 1-1 in this one. Our 3 victories so far this season have been Wycombe at home, Luton at home and Stockport away. Our 2 draws so far this season have been Northampton away and Peterborough away. It's just typical Bradford City. Beat all and win the games that you would expect to get nothing really out of, and then draw the games that you expected picking up a pretty comfortable 3 points in. And I would say probably a point was a fair result. First half, we didn't really create much. Tariq Wright had a good opportunity, but just threw himself to the floor and tried to dive. He should have been sent off, never mind booked. The dive was that bad. It was an absolutely awful attempt at trying to con the officials, and Matt Pennington had a great volley, well saved by, I think, is it Reyes in between the sticks for the posh, but that was about it. We didn't really create much in the first half. Peterborough didn't really create much clear cut. There was a fair few shots from distance and little moments which were comfortably dealt with really by Bradford City, and I always felt comfortable in the match. I always felt like we were going to win because Peterborough, I just think they really lack quality, in all honesty. Our goal comes 10 minutes into the second half. Peterborough get an incredibly soft free kick. We'll get onto the referee in a moment, but they decide to play out from the back for it, and if you are playing against Bradford City, don't play out from the back. Only teams like Stockport, for example, who've got players who are more than going to be playing in the Championship, can do that. But if you're Peterborough, trying to play out from the back against Bradford City is criminal because our press is so good. Brandon Kaler picks up the ball, tries to turn away from Patterson. He gets a toe in. The ball falls to Lapsley, flicks it round the corner, and just like that, the ball's in the back of the net. Will Swan scores yet again 3 goals in his last 4 appearances. His first goal for him on his first league start as well. That man scores goals, 3 goals, and I think in around the last 10 days or so now. Obviously, all of them have come away from home as well. Away at Blackburn, away at Stockport, and away at Peterborough as well. A well-taken goal by him in a game where we didn't really create much, even in the second half, to be completely honest. We didn't work the Peterborough goalkeeper enough, but obviously we would not be able to hold on. We went incredibly defensive. We brought off a striker for a centre half. We brought off our captain for a 21-year-old midfielder. That must have been injury enforced because that certainly does seem very bizarre to do at 1-0 away from home when you are under the cosh a little bit. But we tried to defend, we sat back on it, and eventually we did concede. It's Declan Frith spins away from Aidan Baldwin far too easily. He can't bring him down because he got himself stupidly booked in the first half as well for an off-the-ball incident. Frith's original cross is blocked by Sarsvik, but then both Baldwin and Sars seem to just give up a little bit, and they're not got that commitment to ensure the ball goes out of play. Frith then crosses into the box, and to be fair, it is a great finish from Keaton Hayes. I know he's somebody who's been quite heavily criticised by Darren McAntony, the Peterborough owner, but I thought he's quite a decent player, and I thought he was a great finish, to be fair. And again, it comes from Torre just sleeping a little bit at the back post. That's how we conceded our goal against Luton. It's how we've conceded this goal against Peterborough, and that is, obviously, it's a repeating thing, so it is concerning me a little bit, but I do think Peterborough probably did deserve a point out of this game, to be fair. It was a really low standard quality of match, despite there being 27 shots. It certainly didn't feel like we had 15 shots in that match. But as you would expect, again, the opposition have dominated possession. We don't really want the ball. We want you to have the ball, and we'll try and press and make mistakes. We made a load of changes in this game, an entirely different front three to normal. I've no idea how Lapsley got an 8.2. He was probably our worst player on the pitch, in all honesty. I don't know how he's got an 8.2, probably just for his assist. But defensively, hopefully Joe Wright will be back on Tuesday. He's missed the last couple of games with a concussion protocol. Obviously, there was no Poynton, Sars, Humphreys in the team, for example. I think we made 5 or 6 changes to our starting 11, trying to keep players fresh, keep them fit, keep them available as well. And Peterborough, there is some decent players in here. This Odo, I know he's been heavily criticised by posh fans, but he was definitely their biggest threat in the first half. I think Lolo's showed some nice touches. Kayla looked very good in the midfield, but defensively they were a shambles. Johnston looked okay. Nevitt looks really uncomfortable anytime the ball's anywhere near him. Akagbe was pony. And Dornelli, goodness me, he looked like he won a competition. I think Pete O'Rourke tweet that there's clubs interested in Dornelli now that they've brought back Peter Kioso to the football club on loan, but sure, that must be like National League North sort of level because he is garbage. Can't tackle, can't pass, can't cross. He was absolutely garbage, but we just didn't try and run at him enough because Tariq Wright, anytime he got the ball, was just wanting to go backwards with it, so that was a little bit frustrating. It's still a good start to the season, despite a frustrating point. If a frustrating way to get this point. If you'd have said, you know, at the start of the campaign, you'll get 11 points from your opening 5, I would have snapped your hand off for that. We've got to be realistic with our expectation. Yes, we've beaten the hard teams, the harder games, we've won them, and we've drawn the more frustrating ones, but there's only 2 teams who haven't lost a game yet in this division so far, and that's us and Cardiff. We're up into 4th in League One. Just think last year we were playing Barrow and Harrogate, so let's have a bit of perspective. It's still been an outstanding start to the season. A win against Stoke on Tuesday would be nice, but not our priority. Beating Wimbledon on Saturday now has to be our next focus. We have to win that game. We have to keep winning our home matches as well. And, you know, you have to be beating the teams who you promoted alongside, especially at home as well. But it won't be easy. Wimbledon are a good side. Peterborough, plenty of positive signs there for me. I do think they'll just about stay up come the end of the campaign, but they need a bit more quality in that team, which I think they will get, in all honesty. But I certainly don't envisage this, like, from Plymouth downwards, staying like that till the end of the campaign. Maybe the odd one team, maybe 2 at the absolute maximum, but I think a lot of these teams will come up and a lot of these sort of teams will be going down. Plymouth Argyle finally won a football match as they continue Blackpool's poor start to this League One campaign. The only goal of the game being scored by Malachi Boateng 3 minutes into the second half. I think he picks up the ball off of a throw-in and just takes on 2, 3, 4 players maybe, opens up his body and curls it into the back of the net. An absolutely outstanding strike, to be fair, and that's the sort of quality that Plymouth have been missing so far this campaign. And they actually also managed to keep a clean sheet. Now obviously Blackpool are still missing Niall Ennis. You look at their front line, I would assume Honeyman's surely not played as a striker. Him and Taylor might be slightly rotated. I'm not 100% sure what they might have done for that one, but obviously when they miss Niall Ennis, they don't really create much going forward. Even defensively for Plymouth, it's not changed that much for the team that's been conceding a load of goals so far this campaign. Obviously, they brought in Laurent Talai as well during the week for over £1 million spent. They triggered his release clause to bring him in from Port Vale. We'll get onto the Valiants in a moment, but I think that's a good signing. I'm not 100% sure he can play as a lone striker. We've obviously not really seen him much in a 4-2-3 when we've seen him quite a lot in a 3-5-2, for example, or 3-4-3 when he's got much more support around him, but as a lone striker, not 100% sure if I am being completely honest. In terms of the league table then, obviously great for Plymouth to finally put a stop to their rot. They're now out of the relegation zone after 4 defeats in their opening 4 matches. They have now obviously won this game against Blackpool. They've still conceded the 9 goals. Blackpool have conceded 12 though, which is comfortably the most in the entire division. They're the only team to have conceded double figures so far this season. They've had an awful start to the campaign despite a brilliant win against Huddersfield, even though they had 10 men for well over an hour in that one, which is just absolutely baffling considering some of the games that they've lost. It has been a tragic start to the season for Blackpool. Great win though for Plymouth, and hopefully they can now continue, bring some more players in over the next week or two and, continue climbing up the table. But that is a great win for them, and important to win at home as well. Port Vale's poor start to the League One campaign continued as Doncaster's great start to the League One campaign also continued. The only goal of the game being scored at 9 minutes into the second half by Owen Bailey. A great cutback from Glenn Middleton, to be fair, and Bailey's just got the freedom of Vale Park, to be honest. He's not been tracked by any Port Vale midfielder. It's so poor, but still a great goal from Doncaster and a great finish from Owen Bailey, who's popped up with a fair few goals already so far this campaign. But obviously with Port Vale losing to Lie during the week, I'm concerned about them, really concerned. I already felt like the quality in that Port Vale squad for League One level wasn't really there amongst the entirety of the squad, and now they've lost to Lie. I would probably say their squad is currently weaker now than how they ended it at the back end of last campaign. I'll look at the options in this team. I mean, Ben Waine starting in a league game. Mo Fowl, I think, is a decent option, but obviously Stockley's going to be out for the next couple of weeks. Only having Garrity in your midfield that was so successful last year. No Crowsdale in there. No Walters in there. Yes, some of them might be injured at this moment in time. Byers is still suspended, but starting Shipley and Ojo, I'm just not entirely sure. The back three, Connor Hall, I'm just not convinced. Kyle John could be a decent player, but I just think Port Vale's squad really does lack quality. And to be fair, the Doncaster squad, it doesn't really scream like loads of League One quality, but they've got one of the best managers in the division for me in a Grant McCann. Darren Moore has never been a manager that I have been convinced on. I think he's always relied on having a very, very good squad and team, and then he goes from there. Whereas Grant McCann, he's working with what he's got, and I wouldn't say there is much League One quality in this Doncaster squad. I'd say Lota Tyler's up to the standard, probably Jay McGrath as well, Owen Bailey definitely, Luke Molyneux did very well last campaign, but apart from that, you wouldn't say Billy Sharp is definitely League One quality 47 years of age or whatever he is, or Harry Clifton or Tom Nixon, for example, these type of players, they're decent-ish players, but for good League One standard, I wouldn't say they've got many players. Even somebody like a Luke Molyneux, can we have a look at how he's got on so far this campaign? Obviously, ended last season with a load of goals and assists, scored a penalty against Exeter, but that's his only goal he's registered so far this campaign. Got a couple of assists around here, but just one goal, and that was, obviously, he's not scored from open play so far this campaign in all competitions. He's not particularly had a great start to the campaign, but Doncaster are still winning at football matches, up to 8th in the table, 10 points from their opening 5 games. Yes, they've not had the hardest run in the world. You know, they've had Exeter, they've had Mansfield, Wycombe, obviously lost against Huddersfield, comfortably their hardest game, and obviously they've won away at Port Vale, but you can only beat the teams that are in front of you, and they have still had a great start to the season. As for Port Vale, unless they bring in a lot of signings over the next week, for me, I think they need 3 or 4 good enough League One quality signings. I think they might struggle to get back out of this relegation zone come game week 46, in honesty. Just 2 points for them so far this campaign. They've not been good enough in both boxes in the majority of matches, and even the goal they conceded in this game, it's just so simple. How are you allowing a midfielder to run off you so easily and have the freedom of the penalty area to just tap the ball into the back of the net? Brilliant win for Doncaster, great start to the season for them. They've got a very, very good manager. Port Vale, though, I am very concerned about them. I think they're in trouble. Stockport County versus Burton Albion went exactly how I predicted it to. Burton would score the first goal of the match from a pretty scrappy set play, and that's exactly what happened. Despite a decent save originally from Corey Adai, Stockport just concede a pretty poor goal from a free kick. 7 minutes after that, Brad Hills is sent off for the most stupid red card you will probably not ever see, but it is still a very, very silly red card in all honesty. The ball is played over the top, it's going straight through to Corey Adai, and Hills just drags somebody back. I don't really understand the thinking behind it. I don't know why he decided to do that, but he obviously gets himself sent off. Then Stockport make a couple of changes. They bring Kyle Wootton on. Nathan Lowe dragged before half-time. Obviously, they assume it will have had something to do with the red card. They even make another double substitution at half-time as well, and going into the second half, some great counter-attacking football from Stockport finds them an equaliser. Kyle Wootton plays the ball through to Jack Diamond. He gets 1v1 against his man on the left-hand side, shifts it onto his left foot, and a great strike into the bottom corner. Then 8 minutes later, Ollie Norwood scores what will probably end up being the goal of the season, an absolutely outstanding free kick from about 35 yards out, right into the top corner. It couldn't have been any more perfect. There was maybe the odd question mark, had it gone over the line or not, which is why Kyle Wootton was steaming straight in there, but an absolutely outstanding strike from Norwood. We got a fair share of his criticism after Tuesday's defeat at home to Bradford City. You know, a lot of people saying when the going gets tough, Norwood goes missing, doesn't really do much, but he's come up and probably silenced the haters and the critics with that goal. An absolutely outstanding strike, and for Stockport to come back in the second half and play well in the second half, you know, and get the job done. To say they had 10 men as well. Yes, they're at home to Burton, which they should be winning that total game, but Burton had some good opportunities in that game. They had 20 shots, had more possession, created nearly 3 expected goals as well. On another day, this could have been a bit of a hiding for Stockport, but when the going gets tough, Stockport win football matches. And again, they've only had the one defeat so far this campaign. That was obviously against my team, Bradford City, but it's still been a positive start to the season on the whole. They've only dropped 5 points so far this campaign. I think Stockport will be well up there come the end of the season. This was a great win for them. As for Burton, their season's not going to be defined by losing away at Stockport. Obviously, being 1-0 up, then they get the red card and still going on to lose the game will be disappointing, will be frustrating, but it's not the end of the world. They've got a game in hand. They're 16th. That would be a good finish for them as of right now, and I think Gary Bowyer is still doing a very good job there. Obviously, it is 3 league games without a win and just 1 point in that time, but I think Burton will be fine come the end of the season. At least their fans will be hoping they are anyway. And finally then, we had some incredibly late drama at Adams Park, as I don't even know how to describe this game, to be honest. The scoring was opened anyway by Fred Onyedimma 10 minutes into the first half. Some nice play from Dan Udo down the left-hand side. He cut the ball back for Onyedimma and he fired back across goal into the bottom corner. But then we had some crazy drama just before half-time. Lewis Wing puts in a free kick. I think it was a free kick. No, it might have actually been a recycled ball from a free kick. I think that's what it was anyway. And Kamara then has a header. He's, near the penalty area, really. And Mickey Van Sass gets beaten at his near post. He is garbage. I'm sorry, but he's made 4 or 5 errors now, which has led to a goal already so far this season. He has been awful, but still a great header to equalise. And then actually, Reading just think, you know what, we're going to turn this around. Just before half-time, Lewis Wing with an outstanding strike from, again, about 25-30 yards out. He's just having a goal of the season contender on his own. Again, Van Sass probably should do better with it, but I'm not going to be overcritical on that one. I just think it wasn't exactly like it was right in the corner or right in the side net, and I do think he probably could have at least got a hand to it, made some sort of an attempt, but nonetheless, a great strike from Louis Swing. Unfortunately for the Royals, though, they couldn't hold on for all 3 points as Taylor Allen would cross in from the left-hand side, and James Tilley, in the last minute, would pop up with a free header at the back post, down into the ground, into the back of the net to rescue a point for, I was going to say Matt Bloomfield's side, but obviously for Mike Dodd's side. Looking at the stats from the game then, fairly even across the board, you would say. Obviously, Wycombe have created slightly more XG with, Reading's goals practically being wonder goals. Even the header, how he's managed to creep that in, I'll never know. Wycombe having obviously more possession, but Reading had more shots, same amount of shots on target. Obviously, Wycombe having more big chances as well, with Reading obviously not creating a big chance in the game. But even still, there's enough quality in both of these sides to be up there come the end of the season, at least challenging better than what they are doing at this moment in time. Still no Paudie O'Connor in the squad for Reading. Royals fans, let me know down below, when is he meant to be back roughly for? But obviously this was a relegation 6-pointer, which both teams obviously come away from the game with a single point. It puts them both onto 2 for the season now. Obviously Reading now 2 games unbeaten, drawing away at Bolton and away at Reading, not the end, away at Wycombe, not the end of the world. As for Wycombe, their only points come in away to Doncaster and now at home to Reading as well. So both teams I think will eventually pick up as the season does go on. They both could probably do with some more recruits, especially Reading in them winger positions, but I think both teams will be relatively pleased with the point in all context. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 180 likes, I think we said at the start of today's video, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. How would you assess your team's opening 5 matches so far? How do you think you've got on in these opening couple of games, and how did you get on yesterday as well? Do you think you could need to do any more transfer business as well come the end of the window in, I think, just over a week's time? Thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one.